How goes it, YouTube? This is Acid Roots. I'm going to talk to you guys about T-Pain's greatest hits album, Happy Hour. Now, this came 3 years after T-Pain dropped his 2011 album, Revolver, which really was not that distinct a project. I mean, at least in terms of reception, and it had been pretty much half a decade since his last true hit album, which was Three Rings in late 2008. Now, partially, T-Pain had a lot of problems in the early 2010s between his relationship with Akon kind of not being in the same place that it was. It's not like they soured their relationship, but they just didn't feature on each other's songs as much later on. Akon started distancing himself from music. There were songs that Jay-Z was dropping, or there were songs that folks were dropping like DOA, Death of Autotune, that was crippling T-Pain, and then just overall the music shift kind of changed. It went from T-Pain being the hook artist of choice to Drake being the hook artist of choice when T-Pain dropped Revolver and stuff. It was more Drake and Bruno Mars and those type folks who just were not using vocoder or autotune, if you don't know what that means. But so yeah, T-Pain was kind of in a sticky wicket, and he had dropped a bunch of singles, but really Revolver didn't really chart that high, but then he was just kind of in limbo because he was going to drop an album called Stoicville, but it never came out. He dropped a mixtape called Stoic. That was a primer for that. And then in 2013 up to 2014, when this project came out, he dropped like Up, Down, Do This All Day, and Drinkin' Partner. So he did have two. These were originally singles that were going to be for an album, but T-Pain just eventually said, screw it, let's just make a greatest hits. And that was kind of the situation. I'm glad he did, because there's definitely some hits on here that you can't find anywhere else, kind of similar to Eminem's Curtain Call. I definitely appreciate that. And this album is going to get a pretty high score because T-Pain, I feel like he probably could have pumped this album with a few other hits that are not on here. Like, even though Church was kind of underwhelming from Epiphany, that probably could have been on here. And Studio Love might have been on here. I mean, that's hardly talked about most of the time as a single from Rapper Turned Singer, but that is a good song. And then you also have like Chopped and Screwed with Ludacris that is missing. So he keeps it to each one of his four albums that were out at the time to just two singles from each project, which is too bad because he did occasionally get to the third single. But I guess they're not the greatest hits. I guess that's kind of the thing, is just to define it, because most of the time when T-Pain got to the third single, it was not as good as the first two, and it happened each of his albums. But so talk about the two singles on this project. The first one is Up Down Do This All Day, and it's produced by DJ Mustard. Really, this is like an emphatically produced club song that I really feel like this is completely in the club, got drinks in your hand, looking flashy, looking top notch, that type of stuff, with your stunner shades on, something like that, just seeing all the women twerk and dance and that type of stuff. Just really great party song, club song, that sort of emphasis. B.O.B. is, he maintains his lyricism on this song. I like the fact it was kind of an interesting fit because I didn't know how well T-Pain and B.O.B. had known each other, but I do feel like B.O.B. did a great job. It's kind of interesting just because B.O.B. is kind of removed from his fame also, but they both belted out a pretty stellar hit. Definitely feel like that's a great single to kick off the project. But I know that when he originally intended this for his album rather than the greatest hits, it was supposed to be like, it kind of underperformed on the charts. So I'm just glad that we have like an actual CD where you can find this, because it's a pretty good song. I wouldn't have wanted it to have only been single only. But the second single is Drinkin' Partner, and this is T-Pain back on one of his prime topics and most popular topics, alcohol. T-Pain has made numerous songs for alcohol, and they usually wind up kicking ass. And this is probably one of the most recent songs for liquor that I remember T-Pain doing. Definitely like this song, the kind of more crunk and dirty South kind of hip hop beat on Drinking Partner is just a perfect setting for T-Pain. He doesn't try to stick with the trends on this song or try to do something that is just, because really the thing about like a song like 5 O'Clock, which is on this album with Wiz Khalifa and Lily Allen, that just didn't feel like a T-Pain song, but Drinking Partner does. It feels like it's 2007, 2008 again, when the Dirty South was huge, and like, T-Pain was all over the place with his auto-tune records. It just feels like it was ripped straight out of 2008, and that's definitely a good thing, because these are the sorts of productions I would like to hear T-Pain on. It's a great song, ode to drinking and having a female drinking partner or a significant other drinking partner, just to kind of bop and realize that, hey, I'm not the only one that likes liquor. And it's just, I really appreciated that topic. Great song to get smashed to. But to talk about the rest of this album, I'll go ahead and out of 13 songs, I'm just going to go ahead and list the two songs that I did not enjoy, which out of everything on here, there were three songs. There were only three songs out of 13 that I didn't enjoy, and those three songs were the Up Down, Do This All Day remix, uh, 5 O'Clock from the album Revolver, and Best Love Song from the album Revolver. Now, I'm not going to say that newer T-Pain is worse than older T-Pain, but I just feel like the type of song that he needs to be on with auto-tune for to complain about 5 O'Clock and Best Love Song. I mean, at least Best Love Song kind of reminded me of like a Blood on the Dance Floor song. It really felt like just a in the club, you've been in the club all night kind of song, the dance club, just getting ready to go dance and have a good time. But the singing was just bad on Best Love Song. Like T-Pain normally has a very melodic, and he can create melodies that get you kind of singing along with it. But this time, him and Chris Brown just did a pretty paltry job of being able to do that. I just could not get into the singing, and it just was not synchronized, and the chorus was just not catchy enough to really. I mean, I liked the production on the song, but it was kind of a waste just because for some reason T-Pain just fell off the mark as far as trying to craft like a good party ready R&B song and a dance ready one. And that's pretty strange because T-Pain is usually a pro at that. But then 5 O'Clock is another one that was kind of in an awkward place. So basically, the songs from Revolver, his 2011 album, I really didn't enjoy it, is because T-Pain was kind of out of a house and home at that time. People were starting to abandon him and go in with Drake and Trey Songs and Bruno Mars more as hook artists. And T-Pain was kind of out of a job, it seemed like, because everyone was sick of auto-tune. Songs like DOA, Death of Autotune by Jay-Z were kind of helping with that, and T-Pain just wasn't getting as much feature love as he had in the late 2000s. But 5 O'Clock, when he tries to do like this kind of blue collar, pulled some chick at the club type number, just a nice romantic, gonna fuck at 5 o'clock in the morning type song, and the production works. I mean, it's got the perfect emphasis for doing such a song. I don't have a problem with Lily Allen and Wiz Khalifa on the song. Lily Allen does great on the hook. Wiz Khalifa has a pretty charming verse, but it's really T-Pain that's the problem with the 5 O'Clock song, and it does not make sense for him to have auto tune on there. It's just kind of odd hearing that because that's one of T-Pain's most recent hits, and it actually charted pretty high, but I could not find the auto tune working with that particular song. Like Lily Allen's singing on the song is very soothing, and it just feels suited for her more so than it does for T-Pain, and it's his song. So it's kind of odd. But yeah, it was just. T-Pain was at least trying to give folks something that was past like his Three Rings and Epiphany days, but when he adapted to like the 2011 times, it kind of made him wind up sticking out like a sore thumb, which is too bad. I do like the hook on that song. I do like the hook on that song, but so to talk about a lot of these, I'm just gonna go through some of the albums. Like I'm in Love with the Stripper and I'm Sprung are two quality hits from his first album, Rapper Turned Sanga. Really just quality R&B, summery R&B, just dance club. I'm in Love with the Stripper is kind of more of a strip club, dance club kind of song. I'm Sprung is kind of more of just like a popular R&B type song. And this is where R&B started getting more contemporary and having better production on there. I like both the songs from that. The two songs from Epiphany are the two alcohol songs, Buy You a Drink. Well, there's more alcohol songs, but Buy You a Drink and Bartender with Akon are both pretty excellent songs. Buy You a Drink is just a smash hit. This is obviously one of T-Pain's best songs. Great kind of snap rap kind of beat, and Young Jock really tore apart the verse and was a perfect fit for the song, honestly. And Bartender is a nice team up with Akon and T-Pain. It's too bad that Akon and T-Pain didn't continue to collaborate. It was a great song for that. Great song as an ode to bartenders and that type of stuff, flirting with bartenders and having a good time in the middle of summer, that type stuff. But I do feel like Three Rings was kind of under promoted because that was a classic album in a lot of ways. I mean, it's been a while since I listened to it. I don't know if I can full blown say it's a classic, but the singles were great. I mean, T-Pain was completely in his prime at that time. Can't believe it's one of the better R&B songs of like the past 15 years. Even today, him and Lil Wayne tore that song apart. Just has a real kind of drowsy, sleepy kind of production in there, and they just were kind of lazily just killing it off, and it just worked extremely well. They did a great job with that. And Freeze is a nice dance club song with Chris Brown. It's probably the better team up between that and Best Love Song. Freeze just really nailed it, and it's pretty much a song that'll make you want to get on the dance floor. I mean, there's plenty of songs like that, and we'll talk about that more in a moment, but it's just a great dance club song, and Chris Brown has some excellent singing. He has better melodies on this song than he did on Best Love Song. And I already talked about why I didn't like the Revolver song, so that just leaves a couple extra songs. I talked about the singles, and so that just leaves Blame It on the Alcohol by Jamie Foxx with T-Pain, and then Booty Work. So Blame It on the Alcohol was a huge song right around the time when Three Rings came out. Jamie Foxx tore that song apart. T-Pain did. It's an ode to club music and buying liquor for women and that type of stuff, and blaming our attraction on the alcohol and that type of stuff. I mean, it's probably one of the better R&B songs. Again, this is it's not recent anymore, but at the time, this was capital R&B as far as quality went. And then there was also Booty Work, which should have been on Revolver. This is probably my favorite song from the Revolver sessions that I heard from T-Pain on this project. Booty Work just has like this real thumping, kind of pounding, like you're in the jungle type beat on there. And it's just an ode to big butts and that type stuff. And it works extremely well. I feel like this is an example of T-Pain having auto tune that actually wound up working, at least in terms of recent singles. And in the Revolver sessions, the auto tune worked on this song, and it just did it a lot better. Kind of felt like a hungry kind of club beat that just really where the booty dancing's getting pretty furious and that type of stuff. This works as a damn good presentation. But yeah, it's just too bad about 5 o'clock and Best Love Song. But at least Best Love Song is somewhat of a dance song if it just could have had better melodies in there. But yeah, so all right, I've talked about all these songs on here now, so I'm going to go ahead and score it. This album, me liking 10 out of 13. I'm going to give this album a 9.5 out of 10 because if I had just liked one more song, I would have given this a 10. These are some of T-Pain's best hits. The new songs he dropped, Kick Ass 2, Up Down, Drinkin' Partner, and Booty Work are all great songs to hear. And he even included a Jamie Foxx song that wasn't even his as another example. So it's just chock full of hits. It's chock full of T-Pain's hits. This has a lot of good vibes to it, and there's a couple prominent topics on here that I'm going to talk about. For one thing, you're going to find a lot of songs designated to alcohol that just completely swarm the effect of going out to a bar, a dance club, a night venue where there's going to be drinks served. So T-Pain is just chock full of those type songs. And then he also has a good handful of dance club songs. So the alcohol songs would be Buy You a Drink, Blame It on the Alcohol, Drinkin' Partner, Bartender, at least 4 songs for liquor. And then the dance club songs, I would have to say, you've got Best Love Song, Freeze, and maybe that's about it. I guess I would say Up Down, that single, but there's just a number of songs on here that kind of work for that. I was surprised that there were actually some extra dance club cuts on here, but that's kind of the impression behind it. Is T-Pain likes to dance, he likes to drink. Definitely an overall great R&B singer. 9.5 out of 10. The social score I'll go ahead and give a 10 out of 10, just because all of the singles for the most part are on here. I guess it just was a concept of whether or not it's truly his greatest hits, but it does for the most part work in that effect. There's plenty of songs to go out to. Blame It on the Alcohol is a great one. Buy You a Drink's a great one. Can't Believe It's a great one. Bartender's a great one. Freeze is a great one. I'm in Love with a Stripper is a great one. So these are just all ones for weekend, Friday, Thursday night, Saturday night, any day of any evening of the night, any evening night of the week could basically be a potential hit to turn this into a party in your pocket type situation. And it just works extremely well in that fashion. I would have to say T-Pain really outdid himself. It's tough to come up with many things to complain about. I think the only real complaint I have about this project is just the songs that came from Revolver, which to me is probably the weakest of T-Pain's first 4 albums. I would have to say, and it's not completely his fault because people try to write T-Pain off as a fad and that he was just going to be here today, gone tomorrow type thing. But he did, at least to his credit, he did at least try to do some new things to stop people from painting him into a corner. It's just that fact that it just didn't work that well. I think that's the only problem. I wish that he would have just continued doing songs like Drinkin' Partner, Blame It on the Alcohol, Buy You a Drink, and Can't Believe It, and he probably would have been fine. But I mean, he had to meld with the times, and it's just unfortunate that the way that those songs turned out were just not in enough hits. But at least the songs to say that came out of 2013, 2014, Up Down, and then Drinking Partner, they do bring T-Pain back to his Biteful fold. So just he really has bite to those type songs. Even if his charting days were since over, he still got his venom back, which I credit him for. But that's kind of the situation. So in terms of the future, T-Pain has been dropping singles and stuff, but he's really been doing Twitch. He's kind of more of a Twitch gamer now, and he does do some music occasionally, but not nearly as much as he used to. I would definitely like to see more records from T-Pain, and by that I mean more albums, but I don't know how that's going to happen. But that's kind of the concept about it. So